Hey guys, so in my previous video of the speed championship matchup between Grischuk and Duda, I covered a game where Duda won. So in this video, I'll take a look at one of Grischuk's victories. Now keep in mind that this is a 5-minute blitz game, so I will not be going too deep into the analysis as the players, they don't have much time to execute their moves. So in this game, Grischuk had white and Duda had the black pieces. We have e4, c5, knight to c3, so Grischuk might be going for a closed Sicilian with ideas like g3 and bishop to g2. e6, knight to f3, d6, and here Grischuk plays d4, so transposing to the open Sicilian. c takes d4, knight takes d4, knight to f6, and here g4 from Grischuk. So g4 intending to push forward on the king side with the pawns, and also sometimes white plays h3 and bishop g2. h6 from Duda stopping g5. We have bishop to g2, bishop e7, bishop to e3, knight to c6, here h3, a6, f4, queen to, bishop to d7, queen to e2, so white is preparing to castle queenside, knight takes d4, bishop takes d4, and here Duda plays bishop to c6, posting up his bishop on this nice long diagonal. And also, he could break with d5 in the future. White castles, queen to c7, so maybe preparing e5, king to b1, black plays e5, bishop to e3, and here b5 from black, so he is just going to push his pawns down the queen side because that is where white is castled. Knight to d5, bishop takes d5, e takes d5, and here if the threat for white is to capture this pawn, and if black were to play a move like castles, simply f takes e5, and after d takes e5, white has to move d6, which would win material because this opens up an attack on the rook. So here after e takes, we have knight to d7, preparing to meet f takes e5 with knight takes e5. F takes e5, knight takes e5, and we have bishop to d4 from Grischuk, a nice centralizing move. So this bishop looks here, if knight moves, then g7 is loose. Also the bishop can drop back to defend white's king. Rook to c8 from Duda, putting more pressure on c2. We have h4, so preparing to push with g5. And here I'm not quite sure what Duda was thinking, probably he was low on time and he played bishop to f6. Which allows Grischuk to push forward with g5. So here if you take the pawn, then well, this opens up the h file for white, and the rook is going to infiltrate into black's position. So here bishop to e7, bishop to e4, so white is looking at playing moves like g6. We have h5, g6 from white. Here f6, so this the light squares around white's king look very weak at the moment. We have bishop to f5 from Grischuk, so maybe with ideas of posting up an e6, and this looks quite scary. Queen to c4 offering a trade of queens. Grischuk declines it, queen to e4, rook to b8. We have rook h to e1, and here king to d8. Probably short of time, so Duda didn't know what to play, so just, well, if in doubt, just make a king move. Here's c3, so white is preparing to meet b4 with c takes b4, and that would open up the c file for his rook. Black pushes forward with a5, queen to e3, so there might be some threats of bishop to b6. Queen drops back to c7, rook to c1, so preparing to open up this file. a4, we have rook to c2, king to e8, queen to e2, bishop to d8. And here this knight is pinned, so Grischuk takes the chance to play c4. B takes c4, rook takes c4. Well, if queen captures, simply queen takes, and you can't capture back because knight is pinned to the king. So here queen to a5, Grischuk plays a3, so preventing black from pushing a3 himself. We have king to f8, here bishop takes e5, f takes e5, and here Duda didn't want to play d takes e5 because that allows d6 and white has a very strong passed pawn. So here f takes e5. This does open up the f file, but Duda is hoping to block it out with a move like bishop to f6. We have bishop to e6 from Grischuk, bishop to f6, and queen to e4, so looking at the e4 pawn. Queen to a7, and here a very nice move from Grischuk, rook to e2. So here if white captures on a4, black can play queen to f2, and there is some counterplay for black, although this is still absolutely winning for white, but Grischuk didn't want to allow black any chances. Rook to e2, queen gives a check, king to a2, queen back to b6. There are no more checks for black after rook to b4, which forces an exchange of rooks. Queen drops back, rook takes b8, queen takes b8, queen takes a4, queen to e8, and here queen to b4 from Grischuk. Looking at d6, so black can't really defend the pawn with his queen or bishop because, for example, if queen to e7, you simply give a check, the queen has to drop back, then white plays queen takes d6. Similarly, if you play bishop e7, then the rook gives a check. Black has to block, then you can take on d6. So here king to e7, quite an awkward looking move. Grischuk gives a check, king to f8, and here rook to c2 from Grischuk. And black has no way of stopping rook to c8. The queen also has to keep an eye on the f7 square. So very nice finish to the game from Grischuk. And if you have not watched my previous video of the Speed Championship matchup between these two players, I would encourage you to do so. So I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, please subscribe for more future content. Thank you for watching and have a nice day.